Today's guest is Millie Marconi. Millie is the founder of Yesterday, a company redefining how we connect with our work life by building specialized tools designed to increase productivity. Basically, Millie wants us to focus more on creating amazing work rather than spending hours completing tasks that AI can complete in seconds. Better yet, she's asking the bold questions about how AI can help us relate in more human ways. So from one human to another, Millie, welcome to ROI from AI.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
My pleasure. So we understand sort of what Yesterday is. It's around productivity. It's around these tools for adoption to make our lives a bit easier with work. But what was the genesis of Yesterday from the beginning?
Yeah, so yesterday is essentially it started as something very different, and where it is now, and the product specifically that sort of talk to today is very different. So the product that we're working on at the moment, which is called Test Feed, it was brought from a pretty unfortunate situation. I actually posted something on LinkedIn. I was doing a lot of content creation. As any founder knows, part of the job description now is basically being a content creator as well. And I posted something that really did not land how I expected. So I got a ton of backlash and I got like a pseudo cancellation very briefly, but it was a really horrendous experience. And the post was something, it was about an experience I had with a candidate. And there was a lot of additional context in relation to this specific story, but how it was perceived was quite discriminatory. And that was never my intention. And it was a horrific experience and basically just snowballed. And so, unfortunately, from that experience, or fortunately, I should say, it actually started the idea for Test Feed. So essentially, I had this moment of if I had have run this post by my audience and I had seen what they would have thought or felt, there's no way I would have posted it. And so that was the initial catalyst that started us exploring this space. And now we're very much entrenched in the synthetic audience space.
I find that so cool and just human. This is emotion. This is something that you experience firsthand. And I think you have to go through this to actually come up with this business idea. And I think the best business ideas are ones that come through your own personal experience. You went through this horrible ordeal and then it created this light bulb moment. So there's that silver lining. But I'd like to know a bit more about Test Feed specifically. Like, how does it work and what can someone expect from using it?
Yeah, so essentially what we're doing is we're taking perspective taking, so which is for a lot of people a new concept, and we're bringing it to someone's everyday workflow. So essentially what I mean is perspective taking is taking someone's intention and then matching it to their audience's perspective. So essentially, I'm matching intention and perception. And so, what we do is we're creating a simulation of that specific interaction. So, I can populate an audience. So, for example, I could populate an audience of Spec AI if I was a salesperson who wanted to sell to them, or if I was a candidate who was applying for a job and was going through job interviews. So, I could create a rich audience based on the specific person I'm communicating with. And then from there, I can simulate a specific interaction. So, for example, if I'm a product manager and I want to understand how is a new feature going to help me achieve my goals of user stickiness with a specific persona, I can simulate that interaction. So, it's really, I guess, interesting and exciting application of AI. And I would say definitely is helping make the outcomes better on both sides as well. So, how we do it is it's very sort of complex modeling, and we also take a lot of real inputs as well. So, we allow the user to provide accurate and uh, realistic feedback or inputs from that specific interaction that they've had with the user as well. So, we have a continuous learning loop too.
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of this idea of synthetic audiences. I think it's really, really powerful. Now that our world is so online, it used to be a time, and I'm a content creator myself. I've been doing this for so long, where you kind of just throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks. So I'm assuming with synthetic audiences, it can be very, very thorough, very tested. So it's going to mitigate that risk when it comes to content creation. But how are you creating these synthetic audiences? Are you pulling data from different social accounts? Like, what is it? How is it generated?
Yeah, so we have a number of ways in which we populate the specific audience. So we can do both internal and external enrichment. So, for example, you could provide existing interactions that you've had, or you could also enrich it with external information. So, for example, we could pull information off the open internet. And then we also do a ton around behavioral modeling. We have an entire framework that simulates exactly the type and the nuance of each specific audience. But yeah, we have this really, I guess, amazing and rapid ability to populate a specific audience, which I think for us, there are other players on the market. We're definitely not the only ones, but I would say a lot of what we're seeing in the synthetic audience space is very much on the enterprise side. So it's basically the application of a synthetic audience to replace a focus group, whereas we see ourselves sitting very differently to that. We see providing perspective taking and providing uh, checking and testing and iterating in someone's existing workflow.
Mm. So, what type of people would be needing test feed and a synthetic audience? Is it mainly businesses, or could
Yes.
a self-employed content creator do a little test run before they launch something, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched a demo of a previous product that we'd built in test feed, which we've since pulled offline. But we posted a demo of that and we got over 1,500 waitlist users in like a matter of weeks organically in response to that. So we actually found it was a very broad use case and the surface area of this product is massive. We've got specific ideal customer personas that we're focusing on, but I would say it falls into a number of different categories, but it's absolutely applicable to your content creator who might, their motivations might be, I don't want to post something that's insensitive, or I don't want to post something that won't won't get the reception that I wanted from my audience, or the engagement's not going to be good because it's not relevant to the specific persona. Or if I'm doing a brand deal and I want to actually forecast what will be the best copy that I can include in that Instagram post. So those are all applications for that specific persona. But I would say there's a huge application on the business side as well. So our initial product and our initial go to market will be more on the prosumer side. So more of that individual that's wanting to get better outcomes. So they could be within an organization or they could be a freelancer. It's just essentially that easy application and providing that initial introduction to perspective taking and audiences.
Yeah. So yesterday is obviously working in this like productivity space as well. Are there other tools that you're working on at yesterday that you think our audience might enjoy?
Yeah, look, we have had an interesting uh, history creating a lot of different tools. We've built over 60 products. So that's myself and my partner. We've been in the startup space for close to 9 years now. So what we're working on at the moment, we previously had, I guess, a approach whereby we were looking at micro tools to solve specific delight. So essentially, we would look at, okay, what was a pain point in my specific workday? For example, right now, content creation is definitely time consuming, it's difficult. And so we built a tool around that, and that was called Chat Post. So there's definitely tools that we've built in the past. I'd say where we're at now is test speed is the thing, and test speed is I guess the breadth and the application, the value of this product is so massive, and we're already seeing that. And the feedback has been very reflective of that as well. So I'd say that's really our everything at the moment. That's our baby. And that I think we have this amazing opportunity to allow people to achieve much better outcomes, both for their audience and both for themselves. So from a commercial standpoint, and then also from more of a personal standpoint, if you want to feel more confident posting on LinkedIn, that's great. To us, that's a win. So, yeah, that's really where we're focusing our energy now.
Well, one thing I love when it comes to AI and these new emerging technologies is how it intersects with us as humans and our emotions and our feelings. And it sounds like Test Feed and the work that you do at Yesterday has that real emotional drive behind it, which I love. So, were there any struggles with trying to turn something personal into a business that you then deploy to the market? Did it get a bit like, oh, too real? Or were you pretty much business oriented from the get go?
Yeah, it's been so interesting. I would say for me, I do a lot of content, and I have found that the emotional piece and the authenticity piece, as much as that's such an overused word, it really is so important. And I would say the traction that we've had over the last 3 months, the correlation of that is that I have started being more personal. This all started happening because I posted that thing on LinkedIn that went really south, and then from there, we built the product to solve that specific pain point, and then what we realized is this is not just us. This is a really, really broad and painful problem. So I would say it's actually been really refreshing and wonderful for me to see that, okay, leading with the human piece is really resulting in better business outcomes. So I'm almost finding that they're completely correlated, which is fantastic.
And we're not trained that way, I don't think. I don't think we're taught to lead with humanity, and AI is such a scary frontier for so many people, and it can seem very confronting because it's this uncanny valley and there's like a lack of trust. But I think even just you being open and honest about your experience and being able to then come up with an idea, deploy that, help other people who can then avoid your experience, I think is a beautiful genesis. But where do you see in the future this combination of artificial and emotional intelligence? I think we're kind of at the bubbling away stage now, especially with test feed. But how do you see this evolving in the future?
Yeah, so this is something I feel extremely passionate about. So really our contrarian view, or our it's not really, I don't know if it's contrarian, but our belief is that test feed will result in better communication with technology, not despite it. So what that means is what we're seeing is a lot of AI proliferation is resulting in pretty poor human interaction. So that might mean, okay, I've got some homogenized piece of copy from a BDM that has done no research on me, has had done no had has made no attempt to understand me as a human and what I might want or need. So for me, what I feel really guided by and really inspired and optimistic about in regards to AI is that I actually feel we are focusing on a subtle nudge to educate people on better communication. And what I mean by that is that essentially with perspective taking, which is understanding your perspective and then my intention, and then understanding how those two align and focusing on communication that speaks to the other person's perspective is a really fantastic thing. It results in better communication, more empathetic people, and more values aligned content and communication and features and products. And so for me, I feel that what we're building right now is really enabling that and is enabling that at scale. So I feel incredibly optimistic. And I think definitely the AI space can seem very scary and very overwhelming, and particularly when, we do see a lot of homogenization of information and content, and, I think for me, this has almost been a little sort of light at the end of the tunnel, is that I think we've got something here to really enhance, human communication.
There's a social change that could be a result of injecting humanity into AI. One thing we've seen that's really trending is the natural language search queries. So
Mm.
you've got a data set or a knowledge base. It's all very clinical and cold, but being able to use your own language, your own words, speak like a person, and then AI interpreting that, I think it's going to allow people to trust AI a little bit more. Or now what we're seeing, especially on like the customer service side of things, is you're talking to a robot essentially, but the robot speaks like a human. It has different expressions, different intonations. Those little things I think will help build the trust, because there's definitely some blind spots when it comes to AI in business where, unlike you, people are looking for the gap in the market from a monetary perspective, and they want a business idea to cut through because they've identified where they can generate business. But I think at the end of the day, it's humanity that will shine through. It's all very like big picture philosophical thinking, but the fact that you had a genuine experience and turned that into a business, I think is really clever. So if there's other businesses out there that are wanting to inject a bit more emotional intelligence, where do you think they should start?
So, companies, I think a really easy way to start doing this is just being aware of their own intention. So, what I mean by that is essentially understanding their goals, their values, and what they're intending in a specific interaction. So, say that is a salesperson wanting to hit their end of quarter quota. So, my intention is that I want to get my bonus. Whereas the customer, their intention might be, I want something that delivers great value and that I'm going to pay a fair price. And so it's just this subtle change and this subtle, I guess, nudge towards being aware of someone else's intention and also doing perspective taking. So looking at how intention and perception align. So that's simple, it's theoretical as well, but I do think that that has a really huge impact on businesses' bottom line, but also happier employees, happier management, happier customers. So that's where I definitely say they can start.
It's starting to feel like a bit of a blind spot with a lot of these AI technologies, is that since there is that lack of trust, people might see AI as nefarious and just kind of like wanting to make dollars and cents. And if they take the humanity out of it, then there's nothing we can really relate to. So I think that's really powerful with having the intention behind it. So you know exactly what you're doing. You can understand someone else's intention. It's basically just having a conversation, and we're teaching AI to be more human in that regard. But that is one blind spot that we're starting to see. But are there other blind spots in the AI space that you're wanting to address or see develop in the future?
I would say really the blind spot that I'm focused on is I think there's a lot of homogenization. And so what I mean by that is basically we're all collectively saying the same thing. And so that has come from this proliferation of online content, and also the way in which LLMs work is essentially they are all trained on the same data. They're all trained on the open internet. So an example I like to use for this is if you ask an LLM to pick a number between 1 and 50, would you expect it to be random?
Mm,
Would
no
you?
or yes?
Well, you would if you asked a
You would
human
think
to
yes.
pick a number between 1 and 50, you'd expect it to be random. An LLM will almost always default to 27. And the reason is because there's a lot of information on the internet about how 27 humans are more psychologically prone to answer 27. So essentially, an LLM has just taken that as, okay, fact, that's the answer. That's the correct answer. And so
Mhm.
that to me, I think is a good uh, simplification of the broader issue or the broader blind spot is that we're just getting homogenized answers. We're just getting all of the same regurgitation of information. We're getting the same regurgitation of content. So, something that I'm really focused on and a blind spot that I want to address is people feeling more confident and more uh, free to express their own unique perspectives and thoughts and feelings and interests. And so that comes from, okay, I feel more confident in being able to express myself online rather than, okay, I'm just going to default to ripping something off the internet and reposting it. So that's something that I think also more broadly, there's going to be a massive issue in the data set that these LLMs are trained on as well, because essentially there's just a homogenization of hodgepodge. So we're actually seeing a decrease in the quality as well. So yeah, that's, I guess, a quite random and nuanced example, but that's something I'm definitely thinking about.
Well, that's the thing. AI is developing and it's happening all around us, but we have to develop ourselves on how we use AI. Even something as granular as ChatGPT, people are learning how to ask more detailed or nuanced questions to get a response that better suits their
Mm,
needs. So
mm.
we're kind of developing alongside each other if you see them as two separate entities. And I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to be pretty groundbreaking for AI. And as someone that works very heavily in the field and is in the nuts and bolts of it, where do you see the AI space in general heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, look, I'm incredibly optimistic. I obviously empathize with people that feel very, pessimistic about AI, but I feel really excited. I think what we're seeing now is knowledge that this knowledge economy that we just could have never imagined, and I think Sam Altman spoke, I remember reading something and he said, AI is more transformative than the invention of the internet, and I completely agree with that. I think we now have this ability to advocate for ourselves. We have resources at our fingertips. We can understand our own health. We can understand our own emotions. We can really, I guess, use AI in such a powerful way. So I think over the next 5 years, there's gonna be a pretty transformative change in how people advocate for their own health, and I
Mm.
think LLMs will have a big part to play in that. And additionally, I would say we're also going to unburden a lot of the more, I don't wanna say admin heavy, but we're gonna unburden a lot of the routine or monotony of our day. Which I think I'm thrilled by that. I'm so excited. I'd love to spend more time in, the weeds and the thinking and the, I guess, human side, of running a business. So I think that's also something that I'm incredibly excited by.
Oh, me too. I think we're living in the best era because off air, we're talking about you being a digital nomad, and I'm quite the same. I've been doing it now for like 9 months. You said you were a few years in. The more we can automate productivity, especially as a nomad, the more time I have to go to the beach on my lunch break. So I'm personally loving this lifestyle. I love the fact that you're doing it as well. It's kind of validating that it's working for both of us.
Mm.
I just wanted to quickly touch on what inspired you to be a nomad and how are you making life easier for yourself this way?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So we're 3 years in now, and we've been all over the world. Luckily, we hold additional passports, which make that easier too.
Mm.
But yeah, it's fantastic. And I think there is such a community of digital nomad people around the world. And a lot of them are in sort of the technology space, which is amazing that we have, an industry that really does understand the incredible benefit of remote work, both to the employee and both to the company as well, from a personal fulfillment side of things as well. So I would say the what's making it easier for me is, again, we use AI to do all of our planning,
Mm.
all of our budgeting, all of our booking. So that is definitely a big unlock. But additionally, more specific is if we're overseas, so we spend a lot of time in Japan, we will have a GPT set up that is translating Japanese for us.
Mm.
So for example, my partner has a shellfish allergy, so I will just send a photo of the menu to my GPT straight away. It'll identify what items have shellfish. So that's an amazing application that, you know, that would have never been possible years ago. So, yeah, there's a number of ways in which it definitely makes the experience much better.
No, I love that. It's those little tips that I feel like I need because 9 months in, I've had some crazy experiences and trying to work remotely with bad Wi Fi, and I'm hosting a podcast at the same time. There's external noise. Those little things I think are really powerful. And I would encourage anyone to live this sort of lifestyle. But I do want to finish on my final question that I ask every single guest, and that is what is your biggest tip for a return of investment with using AI?
Biggest tip for getting a return on investment for AI is to really spend your time understanding LLMs. Start with something basic, start with a ChatGPT, start with a Claude, and really understand prompt engineering. And then from there, understand what specifically is painful in the specific process that you're doing and look for tools that help solve that specifically. So that's, I guess, focusing on an ROI of time. So, for example, something that I can't do is scheduling my day. So I might then look for a tool to help assist me outside of my LLMs, which have all of the context of my day. So I would say it's looking for sort of micro solutions to your existing problems, and then ensuring that they're painful enough that then you are leveraging the right tools.
No pain, no gain. It's like what you said earlier with this personal experience identified the problem.
Mm,
And here you are about to run test feed and deploy it. And it's so exciting because this is sort of a new space. There's not a lot of work around synthetic audiences. And I think that's really great advice is having the self-awareness to when you encounter a roadblock or an obstacle or a pain point, getting over that, automating that, and then eliminating everything that comes with that will just give you more time to be a nomad and go down to the beach and enjoy your life.
unfortunately, I don't get to do much of that at all, but anyway,
Working too
not at
much.
not at the moment. We're 7 days a week right
Yeah.
now, but
It'll pay off, and it's super exciting, this
I
whole
mean, I'm having fun, like, I love it, so it's fine.
it's
Um,
working for you, and it's
yeah,
so inspiring. You should be so proud of yourself. I'm very
thank you.
excited to see what happens with the rest of yesterday and especially test feed. So, Millie, thank you so much for joining me on ROI to AI.